Does your extra firm Swiss meringue look ruined after mixing it with other ingredients? Don't worry. Everything has a solution. Even if it looks lumpy or seems lost, don't throw it away. With a simple and quick trick, you can fix it in just a few minutes and restore its smooth, firm, and glossy texture. Let me show you how to do it. I start by preparing the jams, making 3 different flavors completely homemade. First, I use frozen red currants, a delicious homegrown harvest. For this recipe, I add 2 cups of red currants, 1 cup of sugar, and half a cup of water. The second flavor is black currants, also from my own harvest. Lastly, I prepare jam with frozen strawberries. I use 1 300g bag of strawberries, about 10.5 ounces, 1 cup of sugar, and half a cup of water. I place the 3 saucepans with the mixtures on the stove and bring them to a boil over medium-high heat for 10 minutes. With these simple ingredients and such an easy process, you'll get jams with a truly authentic and natural flavor. They are the perfect complement to give a unique touch to your desserts. Sugar is totally optional. You can omit it or adjust to your taste if you prefer a less sweet result. Once the jams have boiled for 10 minutes, turn off the heat, blend each one, and strain them through a fine sieve. This last step is also optional and will depend on how you plan to use them. In my case, I always strain them to achieve a very fine texture and get an extra firm cream, ideal for decorating and filling desserts with flawless finishes. Once the jams are ready, I transfer them into 3 separate bowls and let them cool completely. This step is essential to ensure they are at the ideal temperature before mixing them with the meringue and avoid affecting its texture. The next step is to prepare the 3 main ingredients to make the Swiss butter meringue. I use measuring cups to ensure precision in quantities. The recipe follows this ratio: 1 part egg whites, 2 parts sugar, 3 parts unsalted butter at room temperature, softened. For this preparation, I measure the ingredients as follows: 3 cups of unsalted butter, 750g or about 26.5 ounces. 2 cups of white sugar, about 400g or 14 ounces. 1 cup of egg whites, about 8 medium egg whites, depending on the size. If you want to make a smaller amount of meringue, you can use half-cup measures. For example, use half a cup of egg whites, 1 cup of sugar, and 1.5 cups of unsalted butter, softened. This ratio allows you to scale the recipe without losing the quality and texture of the meringue. In a large heat-resistant bowl, place the 2 cups of white sugar and 1 cup of egg whites. Gently mix with a hand whisk to combine both ingredients. On the other hand, prepare a saucepan that fits the bowl and add some water inside. Bring the saucepan to the heat and warm it until the water starts to simmer. This will be our double boiler to dissolve the sugar into the egg whites without cooking them directly. At the same time, start the timer and place a thermometer to monitor the temperature. This way, I'll guide you step by step to help you pasteurize the egg whites correctly. It must reach an exact temperature of 65 degrees Celsius 149 degrees Fahrenheit, ensuring the whites are safe to use while the sugar completely dissolves. This process usually takes about 3 to 4 minutes, depending on the amount and the heat of the double boiler. Once the whites have reached 65 degrees Celsius 149 degrees Fahrenheit, I turn off the heat and carefully remove the bowl from the double boiler. It's important to stir constantly with a hand whisk to prevent the egg whites from cooking at the edges and ensure a homogeneous mixture. It's important to work quickly so as not to lose the residual heat. Now I restart the timer to control the whipping time. With a hand electric mixer, I start beating the pasteurized whites at high speed. This step is crucial to incorporate air and transform the mixture into a firm and glossy meringue. I continue beating until the bowl is cool to the touch and the meringue forms stable, defined peaks, which usually takes about 6 to 7 minutes. This meringue will be the perfect base to combine with butter and our delicious jams and chocolates. Let's move on to the next step. Perfect! Now that the meringue is at 32 degrees Celsius, about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, it's the ideal time to start adding the unsalted butter, which should be softened so it mixes easily. The butter is usually added gradually, in small cubes, but in this case I'll add 1 cup at a time. After each addition, I beat long enough to fully integrate the butter before adding the next cup. This step is important because it allows you to see how the cream evolves. At first, it may look like it's curdling or losing firmness, but don't worry, that's normal. I keep beating until the mixture transforms into an extra firm, silky, and smooth cream. This process ensures the perfect texture to decorate and fill your favorite desserts. When you add the second cup of butter, take the opportunity to include a teaspoon of vanilla extract, or your preferred flavoring. This will give the cream an extra touch and boost its flavor. After beating in the second cup of butter, you may notice that the cream's texture looks a bit lumpy. If you like, you can replace the next cup of butter with a cup of margarine. This is totally valid and allows for a cream just as firm and delicious. Later I'll show you how the texture looks when using margarine so you can see it's also a great option. Let's keep transforming this mixture into something spectacular and add the third and final cup of butter to follow the recipe exactly. Add and beat for 5 more minutes, or until we see that extra firm, shiny, smooth texture of the Swiss buttercream. Look at the amazing result. In less than 15 minutes we achieved this incredible cream. An extra firm, glossy, silky texture that's not only delicious but also versatile and perfect for decorating and filling your favorite desserts. Here we're going to prepare 2 types of chocolate, Milka chocolate and a delicious salted caramel chocolate by Tony's. I break about half a bar of each into small pieces to make melting easier and melt them in a double boiler. If you prefer, you can also melt them in the microwave, heating in 30-second intervals and stirring between each one to avoid burning. Both options are quick and easy. Once the chocolates are completely melted, I let them cool to room temperature. This is the last step before we can create my 5 delicious cream flavors. Now comes the most exciting part, mixing a portion of my Swiss meringue with just the right amount of each flavor, whether chocolate or jam. That's how we turn the base recipe into unique creams with a personal touch. The result will be spectacular. Here I want to show you how extra firm Swiss meringue can look ruined after mixing it with strawberry jam. Even if it seems lost, with a very simple trick you can fix it in just minutes. As you can see, mixing only with a spatula or a manual whisk isn't enough to integrate the cream's fat with the jam's liquid. Look, I'll put it in a piping bag so you can see the difference. It has a lumpy appearance, as if it were curdled. But don't worry, there's a solution. You need to use at least a handheld electric mixer to achieve perfect integration and restore that smooth, glossy, extra firm texture we're looking for. It's easier than it seems. I set the bowl aside for now and continue mixing the Swiss meringue with the black currant and red currant jams. Notice the vibrant, natural colors we can achieve, all without needing artificial coloring. These intense shades are not only beautiful, but also highlight the authentic fruit flavor in every bite. Once the small portions of Swiss meringue are mixed with each flavor, I set aside the 5 bowls and reserve the delicious results. With the remaining amount of Swiss meringue, about 300 g, 10.5 ounces, of frosting, I transfer it to a narrower, taller container. To this base, I'll add about the same amount of vegetable margarine. It's important to mention that it's always best to use high-quality butter for optimal results. But I understand that everyone's circumstances can vary. That's why I want to show you that if you need or prefer to mix half butter and half margarine, it's completely possible. In fact, as I've done here, you can add margarine at the end of the recipe to increase the amount of cream and get a firmer texture, ideal for working in very hot climates. That way, you'll have a versatile and practical option for your needs. I'm going to choose 6 piping tips to demonstrate this cream's firmness. As usual in my tutorials, I'll use 5 identical tips: the classic Wilton 1M, perfect for swirls and flowers, and the Wilton 12A round tip for borders and simpler details. This way you can see how this cream adapts perfectly to different designs and decorating styles. For the chocolate cream, I'll use a different tip since it contains small pieces. If I used a star tip, the decoration might go wrong by getting clogged with the pieces. I'll opt for a round tip that allows a smooth, trouble-free decoration, achieving a perfect finish even with this special texture. Look at the perfect texture this cream has. I love it. It's ideal for any season and for any kind of decoration. Its versatility and firmness make it the perfect cream to work with any type of piping tip, adapting to all your pastry needs. Storage. To store this cream, keep it in an airtight container in the fridge, where it can stay in perfect condition for up to 7 days. If you prefer to freeze it, that's also possible. Place it in a freezer-safe bag and it will be ready to use for up to 3 months. Before reusing, simply let it come to room temperature and re-whip it to restore its extra firm and smooth texture. I hope this tutorial was helpful and that you feel inspired to try this wonderful cream. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss more recipes and tips. Leave me a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I'd love to read it. Thank you so much for joining me, and see you soon.